All right, so we're going to jump in, but before we do, let's pray. Yes, okay. Dear God, thank you for just the gift that children are, and thank you that we as a church family are so blessed with so many little gifts running around in here and in the back. And I just also thank you for these volunteers who are here today who are willing to serve our kids and our families in this way, God. Just give them renewed strength and energy and patience and all the things that come along with working with little kids, God. We love you, and in your name we pray, amen. Okay, so the only page that I am going to read to you word for word is going to be this first, well, it says number 2 at the bottom of it. And that's just because it's our vision and our mission, and I think that is important to keep this in mind while we're thinking about how we take care of our kids. So our vision, and also if you saw on the front, much of this was adapted from originally Christ Fellowship, but they got theirs from Capitol Hill Baptist, and so that note is on here. A lot of it came from there, so just so you know. This all did not come from my brain, because that would have been a lot of work. All right, so our vision, generations of godliness. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Deuteronomy 6:4-9. And then, but as for you, continue in what you have learned and have firmly believed, knowing from whom you learned it, and how from childhood you have been acquainted with the sacred writings, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ Jesus. 2 Timothy 3:14-15. Okay, and our mission for Immanuel Kids is to glorify God, and we do that, or it exists to glorify God by maintaining a safe and secure environment for our children, supporting and encouraging parents who are primarily responsible for teaching biblical truths to their children, making the whole counsel of Scripture known to children with special emphasis on the gospel, praying for the children and relying on the Holy Spirit to regenerate their hearts through the faithful teaching of His Word, living faithfully before the children and modeling for them how Christians are called to respond to God, interact with each other and the world around us, encouraging children to learn to serve and not just be served, maintaining the highest ethical standards such that volunteers and teachers always live and serve above reproach, protecting the reputation of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and preparing children to one day walk with God as adults, which means getting them ready to be a part of the public services, and Lord willing, one day a fully participating adult member. So, like I said, I won't read a whole page to you, but I just think that's important to keep in our minds as we're talking about how to take care of our kids back there. Okay, so if you'll turn the page, on this page we just have staff volunteer expectations, child protection. A lot of this is pretty much the same as it used to be. Everyone in here, I think, has completed a background check, and you have been cleared. Woo! Nobody came back unclear, so well done. And we're going to do that every 3 years. So every 3 years, we'll have a big old batch of background checks, more than likely. So training, such as this, for all staff and volunteers. And then you can see where it says have at least one floater or security team member. We're getting the security team in place. When we were at the old building, we had someone who could float as needed. And one day when we have a lot more volunteers, we can have a floater again probably. But some information is in here about floaters in case in the future we're able to have that again. And then it kind of mentions it here, and we'll talk about it more later, but another change to our policies is just that there's some more specific guidelines and plans for if something were to happen in our rooms and there was abuse suspected, neglect that's a hard word, guys, suspected, then we have a more clear path on how to handle that. And then I mentioned this, I think, at our family gathering, that we are going to try really hard to always have 2 volunteers in the room at all times, because that's important to keep kids and adults safe and accountable. Okay, we can turn the page. This is this next part, the personnel summary, just kind of highlights like the different roles that we have in the back and names what those are: adults, minors, volunteers. The change here is that we are going to allow helpers who are minors in the back, and so now we have some older kids who are like wanting to serve in ways, which is great. And so if they are 10 years old or a grade level above the kids in that room, then they are more than welcome to help out. That will be in addition to 2 adults, though. So the helper does not count as a volunteer, if that makes sense.
They have to be with their parents, or?
They'll be with their parent, yes. I don't know that that's specified in here, and maybe that's something that we could think through, because I don't know that it just says alongside an adult. So, yeah. Okay, so we can move on to screening procedure. This is just for the volunteers. So I mentioned that there will be the background checks every 3 years, and then we do want the volunteers to have completed the training, which is this training, and then we want volunteers to be connected to a GC. I don't know that was specifically laid out in the old one, but it is now. But I think all of y'all, I'm looking at all of you, and you are. Okay, so we can keep on trekking. This is the annual training session, and we're going to try to do this annually. We'll have volunteers do it, full-time staff, even if they're not working directly with the kids. Parents who have questions about childcare are welcome. So basically, like, anyone is welcome to attend the training, because more people trained is a good thing. Okay, so the next section, protecting children as they arrive and depart, kind of gets into some of the Sunday morning procedures. Okay, so the first section is arrival and departure times. So volunteers should be ready to accept children 30 minutes prior to the start of their day, or start of any service, sorry, which I know is sometimes tricky, but I know things happen. I get it. I'm not going to be like, kick you out if you're not there 30 minutes ahead of time, mainly because I need you, so I can't kick you out. But if at all possible, if you could be here at like 10:05, that would be great. That way we can pray together, which a lot of times doesn't happen because chaos, and just so that we're in place, we're settled, and we can welcome kids and their family as they come in the room. Just think about like how you would want to drop your kid off, right? You don't want to drop your kid off to a room and like nobody's in there and they're just like hanging out, or you're hanging out with them. Amen. Yeah. Because you're like, it's not my Sunday to work, so I'm going to drop my kids off and go. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Thank you. And then just promptly pick them up at the end of service. I know we talk and, that's fine, but don't leave them back there for like an extra 30 minutes. This is not free childcare, people. Okay, signing them in. This part right here is just talking about like if the volunteers need to know anything about your child, you can let them know, like allergy, whatever. And then on page 6, we go into the identification system, which most of us are familiar with, just the stickers that we have. You will get, you already know this, but we'll go over it again. You'll get 2 name stickers for your child and then a pickup sticker. One sticker goes on the child, and then one sticker goes to the volunteers in that room. That sticker is important because it lets the volunteers know who's in their classroom and how many kids they have in case of an emergency. If we have to go to the fallout shelter for a tornado, if we have to go outside because of a fire in the building, if we have an active threat and we have to hide, it's so that the volunteers in the room can quickly look at it and say, I have 6 kids in front of me, great. Because in an emergency, it needs to be as quick as possible. So make sure you give those stickers to the volunteers put on a clipboard so they get your kid in emergency. And then the little tag, the pickup tag, is what you present back to the volunteers to pick up your child. And I know a lot of us have, it cuts out sometimes, like that. Okay. A lot of us have multiple kids who are in the back, and we only get 1 pickup sticker. So just, tear it or hand it to the volunteer of the oldest kid. We know you've got your kid because they're not back there, but yeah, it only prints out 1. And then for picking up the kids also, try your best to have that sticker. We all know each other, but we can verify that the child is yours. But especially in the case if you were going to have someone else pick up your child, especially like if it's someone other than your spouse, like a grandparent or something, they need to have that sticker. And I looked in here before this. I don't think it specifically says this, but we want to have adults picking up kids rather than older siblings, just so we can give them to an adult. Yes, and there's a section in here about if we have any families who are divorced or have custody situations, then you are going to release the child back to the one that checked them in. All right, continuing on, just that 2 volunteer rule again, and there's more information here that I'm going to actually read out, but we'll always have 2 volunteers, and a child is never to be left alone in a classroom. Common sense, but just need to state it. And then we want the rooms to have high visibility as well. So all the rooms have the half door. I know we have some friends that like to close the door and close the top one and, do all kinds of things to the door. But if at all possible, let's keep the bottom door closed and the top door open, just for extra visibility. Okay, there's that section on floaters like I talked about. One day we will maybe do some more with that. The next one, diaper changing procedures. The younger rooms have the diaper changing station. There's diapers and wipes there. If a parent has brought diapers and wipes in a bag, go ahead and use those, because sometimes kids have sensitive skin and certain diapers are better, certain wipes are better. But if they haven't brought any, or they're like, I don't care what you do, we can use the ones that we have under those tables. Only women are allowed to change the diapers unless the child is yours, if you're a male. And then we do have like disposable gloves and things to clean the changing tables as well. So after each child, just wipe down the changing table. We have that Clean Smart spray back there floating around, and that's a good option to kind of spray and then wipe off. So you're not just using like Lysol or Clorox, because that can be harsh. At the end of each day, this is kind of a Sunday morning procedure, specifically in those baby rooms, just make sure to take the trash out. I think most of us are pretty used to doing that, but we don't want to leave any stinky surprises for the next Sunday volunteers. And you can just bring them out to that check-in stand, and then we'll collect them all and take them to the dumpster. Restroom procedures, we thankfully have restrooms in the rooms now. We don't have to traipse the kids through a hallway or anything. Most of the kids, I think, are fairly confident going to the bathroom by themselves, but if a child needs help wiping, pulling up pants, if there's an accident, we want to have a female go into the room to help them. And restrooms are tricky because you want to give the child privacy and not just expose them to the whole classroom, but we also need to make sure that we're above reproach. And so if a child needs help, just crack the bathroom door so that everything can be heard by the other volunteer. Maybe even ask the other volunteer in the room with you to kind of stand near that door so that they can hear what's going on. Just so there's no room for accusations or anything. And then after diaper changing, restrooms, wash hands, all that good stuff. Then we get to appropriate discipline. Of course, we're never going to have to discipline the children back there, right? Because they're all perfect little angels. So the main thing is just to try to be proactive rather than reactive. Call attention to the positive behaviors. If you know that like one child loves a toy and like you see them going for it and like another kid going for it, I don't know, it's common sense. Most of us are parents and like this happens at home. But just try to kind of get ahead of issues if at all possible. And then if for some reason something happens and we have to correct a behavior, we never want to use harsh or demeaning language. We are not going to use any kind of physical discipline. We just remove the child from the situation or that area, talk to them, redirect them to a new activity, help the child reconcile with other kids if that's necessary. If there's a situation where the child cannot be calmed down, it's okay to like remove them into the hallway, especially as long as that door is open. At that point, I would say text me so that I can come back there and help with that, and call the parents if we need to or whatever. But just don't leave the child care area, if that makes sense. Like there's no reason that you would need to calm them down in the foyer or something, like wherever. Does that make sense? All right, let's flip on over. So the next section kind of breaks down like the physical touch policy, and it just kind of outlines what's expected for volunteer to child, and then also child or teen to another child. There's also in the back, in the first appendix, I think it's the first one, there's just like a list of inappropriate and then appropriate physical touch for kids. And so we won't I'm not going to read all that specifically to you, but on your own time, if you want to take a minute to read and like the volunteer to child and then child to child. Again, a lot of this is common sense, but we have to just state it because that's important, and it keeps our kids safe, and it keeps us safe. The next section, parents in the classroom. Sometimes we have little ones who are hesitant, and so if that parent is not a volunteer that day or whatever, they can hang out for a few minutes, and then we'll try to send them out. And then most people's stickers, I think we have everybody's number in there, but it'll print out on their sticker the number for the parent. And so if they just won't calm down, we can text that parent and have them come back. Food and drink policy. Don't think that we have any kids with a major allergy right now, but we offer Cheerios and water. I think that's pretty basic in terms of allergies. But if your child has an allergy or a special issue or need, certainly let me know, and then we can let the volunteers know each day as well. All right, moving on to the emergency situations. So, again, I'm not going to read all of this to you, but there are the big emergency situations would be tornado, which we should have a heads up for that if there's bad weather. But our plan for that, and I'm going to update the signs that are in each classroom as well to kind of match what this says and give a better map on where to go. But our plan for tornadoes is to go to this bomb shelter. Yeah, that's it. If you open the door between these two doors, it literally says, when you open the door, it says fallout shelter. But if you go down those stairs, there is a like steel door. We're not going to go in there because that has like the big air conditioning and it's like scary. But there's, it also locks from the outside. I don't know. Anyway, it was scary. We were like, we're not getting trapped in here today. But at the bottom of those stairs, there's kind of an alcove that we can be kind of up under the stairs. So that's our plan with the kids in a tornado. And we'll try to keep everybody calm because it's kind of dark. So, but hopefully we won't have a tornado. Yes.
We wouldn't worry about, but I'm just envisioning like parents trying to.
Correct. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, what do we just let them go with the parent?
So in the case of an emergency, whether that's tornado and we're down in the shelter, or whether it's fire and we're outside in the parking lot, we would go to like the median over there, or even an active threat. So we are going to get to the safe place with the kids, like the volunteers will.
Okay.
And then once we are in that safe place, the parents can come and be with them, and then kind of once the panic of the threat has died down, then we can release them kind of one at a time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I
Okay.
just didn't know, like, I mean, hopefully nothing like this will ever happen.
Sure.
But I was just thinking, okay, the volunteers, we just need to get them priority, and we could just tell the parents, let us get in our safe place first, and you can follow us.
Yes, yes, exactly. Because it would be chaos trying to like check them out and take these and yeah. So we'll all, as a class, go to the safe place, and then parents are more than welcome to join us there.
Okay.
The fallout shelter, that might be tricky. We'll just all pack in there together. It'll be real tight. That's what it's for. That's right. Okay. So if there are any because I know it says accidents, first aid. If there are any accidents or incidents that occur while you're in a room, there are at the end, and I did catch one typo on the incident report. I put accident instead of incident. But there are forms that we'll have at the check-in table, and then put some in the classrooms, probably in the cabinets, so that the kids they can't be accessed all the time. But there are forms that you can fill out, like, and I'm not talking like somebody stubs their toe and they cry for a second and then they're fine. Like, that's probably, I mean, like if Elliot did that, like, I don't need to know that. That's okay, you know. But if they like hit their head and there's a giant goose egg and you had to give ice, or they're bleeding really bad, you know, fill out that accident report. It's fairly, I feel like we all kind of know what's an accident and what's just a minor issue. And then there is an incident report, and that would be like if 2 kids are involved and a child hurts another child, or, yeah, make sense? Okay, and then that one would, you would fill out 2 of those. So like one for the child who was injured, one for the other child, but don't list their, like, keep it anonymous. Don't list the other kid's name. Okay, so tornado, fire, tornado shelter, fire outside. If there is a live threat of some kind, it's, I mean, that's hard because you kind of have to, like, we can't say this is always where we're going to go in the case of a live threat, because we don't know if that happened. We wouldn't know where that was. But that's going to be where that security team member comes into play. The security person is going to be in that children's area foyer, like if you come up those steps at the children's door. And they will have a walkie-talkie, and then each classroom will have a walkie-talkie, at least. And so that way we can kind of communicate, and they can say, if there's an issue, this is where it is. Don't come this way, go the other, you know, maybe it's we need to go outside. Maybe it's we need to go this way, you know. Maybe hide in your classroom, you know. They can kind of communicate those next steps. And then it kind of outlines all of that for you there. In the case of a missing child, in the morning, it kind of tells us what to do. Contact me. We need to search for the child, and then, you know, eventually we would need to call 911 if that child is not found. Yes, okay. That's not fun, but any questions on that section? Yes? Yes, so there are, how many do we have? 4 or 5 Crestway volunteers who serve as well. Oh, sorry, okay. Someone asked if the Crestway volunteers will receive this training as well, and they will. We have done a training more recently with them, but I'll get with them to kind of schedule one since our updates and everything. A lot of them are out of town right now, but thank you. That's a good question. Okay. After that, the next section is healthy child policy. We just kind of follow like a daycare would. You know, if they have a fever, wait 24 hours. If they were throwing up, wait 24 hours. Yeah. More of that on the next page. And then we get into the like neglect and abuse prevention and reporting. So this is completely new in our policies, just in terms of stating it outright. So first, it's going to give you kind of definitions of different things that could be reported. And then, again, on the next page, here's our prevention, the background checks, trainings like this, 2 volunteers, visibility. All those are just proactive things to keep this from happening. Also, a new policy is we are going to have a child protection committee. Hopefully this committee never has to meet because we'll meet if there's something brought to our attention. And that committee will consist of Austin, myself, Buster, and then Sarah Temple. So hopefully you never have to hear from us in that regard. You'll have to hear from us in other ways, but yeah. And then after that committee section, it's just telling you the point of contact for reporting. I don't expect you to memorize this. Hopefully you'll never have to know this, but if something happens, you can refer back to here. You can also ask me, because, I'm on here as a point of contact. And so we'll figure out next steps and who we need to contact as well. Most of us, as volunteers, because it goes into guidelines for mandatory and permissive reporters, most of us are going to be permissive reporters, which means that you can come to me rather than like reporting to an authority, like the authorities, law enforcement. But if you are a healthcare worker, if you're a teacher, social worker, mental health professional, child care worker, like employed, then you are a mandatory reporter. And so you may know that, you may not know that, but congratulations. But you can read more about those two roles there. All right. I feel like these next pages just kind of go into what would happen if some horrible thing were to happen. So you can kind of peruse that at your leisure. It's not fun reading, but if you're interested, it's there. Any questions on that? Because we're kind of just skimming it. Okay. All right, and then, so Appendix 1, like I said, that's that list of inappropriate touching and then appropriate touching. Again, I think most of us, it's common sense, but, just keeps everyone safe. The next page is the reporting form for if something were to happen, and we would fill that out and keep that on file. The next appendix is, these are just the reporting guidelines in Alabama, just the laws that are in place, if you want to know those. And then the last two pages are those accident and incident reports that will be in the check-in or the child care area for if we need them. I know we asked a few questions along the way. Any other? Yes?
Does it cost the church something to do the background checking, and we obviously have budget for that. Is that something that we could be responsible for as volunteers to lighten the burden, or?
So, yes and yes to does it cost anything, and do we have it in our budget? We used some of the Immanuel Kids budget for those background checks this year, which again this year is like a large chunk just because it had been years since any of us I think did one, and so we just across the board everybody. In turn,
Since we know it's coming every 3 years.
I think after this year, in 3 years, hopefully we'll remember to anticipate that it's coming, and kind of beef that up maybe a little bit. Yeah, in terms of helping with that,
If you keep giving, you're essentially paying for
yeah.
If we weren't line iteming that, and since we
Right.
had that in bulk this past year, what did that cost the church, and how can we foresee those
Yeah.
costs coming?
I don't
Yeah.
think we'll need to for the next couple of years, but we can look at where we're at.
I think it's
entering
not
into-
cheap,
yeah.
so,
It's actually cheaper than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody individually compiles into one bigger number.
I'm
but
really
when-
thankful we do it.
Yeah.
So I definitely, year 3, we can look at that, putting that more into the budget, and it's a good question. So,
Yeah.
But thank you.
I'm assuming like a new volunteer in the next 3 years automatically is gonna get a check too.
Yes, so if somebody comes in next year, they'll do a check right then,
Right.
and then their 3 years would be
Right.
after our, yeah,
Or if somebody came in this week,
Right.
they get a check.
correct, yeah,
Right before they start.
yeah.
Do you want to explain how the new check system, how it
Oh, yes, okay. Thank you. So like the old school background check, it was like the paper and we filled it out and brought it back. Everybody loses that, and that's a nightmare. But now it's completely integrated into Planning Center, which Heather Waldrop, I called her on the phone and she said, why did I need to say on the phone? Anyway, and she kind of like told me all that Planning Center can do, and it's kind of overwhelming, but awesome, because we can keep track of that through the same system where we schedule you and where you can put in blackout dates. So, like I said, I think all of y'all have already done one, but if you haven't, it's super simple. I email you a link, you complete the background check in just a few minutes, it goes, and then when it clears, I get an email that you're all set. So it's very easy on both sides now. So yeah, if you haven't gotten a background check and you need one, let me know. Yes?
There's no type of recording devices in the rooms, is there?
No, there's not.
Is that something, just in the event that there is an accident, that we could pull footage from? And the only reason I say that, not that it's a big deal,
Right.
or if that's something the church is interested in doing, that we can kind of discuss and work with the budget. And I only think of that like, because when Carson was at dance, she fell, hit her 2 front teeth. We had to make an emergency room run. Was it her fault? Was it the teacher's fault? Like, so in the event that we need to pull footage from something that happened, like a volunteer's back was turned, didn't see something, is there any discussions about putting any type of recording devices in the rooms, just in case there's an incident that we can pull footage?
Like do like
Four?
3 blink cameras or
What's that?
something. Like do like 3 like blink cameras just like situated in the corner of the room. Or a ring camera, you can literally like sit on.
I like the little, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there are any, and lawyers help me out, but like any laws around, especially rooms where diapers are being changed, things
Yeah.
like that, having cameras in those classrooms.
Yeah,
Like I don't know if that legally
Yeah.
is okay. I don't know. Doesn't sound okay, but I don't know. But
Well,
I
I
don't.
just got to show you from the dashboard.
No, sure, man. But I mean, I can investigate that and kind of see where. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
wanna
a
be
deal breaker for
diligent.
me by any
Yeah,
means.
sure.
I think a lot of people in this room, we're all very close. But as new members come in and we
Right.
grow, I think if something were to happen, we have a kind of regular attender come for a few times, and then there's an event that happens, one of our children accidentally injure another child or something, you know what I mean? Like, is there something that we can pull to make new families feel more comfortable
Yeah.
Right.
with how their kids are being?
Let me look into some other churches and what they do and see what they do also.
Yeah.
Do we have ice back there?
So we have,
Or even just any first aid stuff?
yes, we're gonna get, there's a big central first aid kit in that resource room, but I think that's the only one we have. But Jessica, we found some on Amazon that we're gonna get like a smaller one for each room. And then we have the ones where you like break it and it turns cold.
Oh yeah.
The little, yeah. So it's not ice, but it's like I don't know what substance is in there, but magic ice. And we'll have this. Science, right, yeah. Good question. All right.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
If outdoor playground ever is a thing
Yes.
here, would we be able to take the kids during service to the playground?
Yes. And I don't remember where it is now because there are a lot of pages in here, but there's a sentence somewhere where it says, like, children shouldn't be removed from the room except to a bathroom if, like, that one's full or, like to calm down in the hallway or to visit the playground.
And I'll give you all an update real quick on, I don't know if any of you guys knew, we're getting a $50,000 grant to put towards a playground outside. Yeah, well, thank you. Jessica did a lot of the dirty work before I even got here, so And it's Logan's family's foundation, I believe, right? Yep. So, but we have to get clearance from Crestway first, and they're. I'm sorry. Hey, and I've been talking with Jimmy, and they have a deacons meeting coming up where they're gonna discuss these things and get clearance. I don't foresee it being a problem. We'd be right over here, some of this area over here, in the kind of the shaded, under the trees type place. But yeah, so that hopefully is coming sooner rather than later. And if it does, then you can take the kids out, childcare playroom, and after the service too, play on the playground.
And it'll be fenced. Said that really loud into there. Yeah. You guys have not asked any hard questions. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now somebody's going to have a hard question. No. Oh, thought it was a hand. Okay. Faking me out. Oh. Okay. If you have signed up for...
Thank you, Joy, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have signed up for security team or your name is Hunter, then y'all can meet over here and talk about that for a few minutes, and I'll hang out too for that. Thank you guys. You're rock stars.